Wait there a minute, Eldon. I have some lemonade.
We've got a lot of lumber in there that we can use for this confinement feeding setup that I've been thinking about.
Yeah, I think we should.
How about some lemonade, Galen?
No, thanks. I've gone and finished that disky.
What lumber were you talking about?
That old barn over there. It's got a lot of lumber in it that we could use in a confinement feeding set.
I sure hate to see that old barn go.
Well, I hate to see it go too, but times do change, and we've tore down a lot of buildings since we moved here. Your dad built this place up, but yet some of these things we just couldn't use, and we've tore down one building after another since we moved.
Well, I suppose if you think this is necessary, it's okay with me. It seems there's changes all the time, and they're happening faster every year, and this is something that we're going to have to accept.
Well, when you're between the rock and the hard place, you've got to change, or else.
Change. And it isn't just the old picturesque red barns, traditional symbols of American agriculture that are coming down, as the men still left on the land break with the past, break with the old ways of farming in order to survive. The changes taking place on the Eldon Wesley farm are echoes of changes on thousands of other family farms, as fewer and fewer farmers, struggling to provide for more and more Americans, seek out the most profitable enterprises, the new ways of agriculture that are all too often beset with some of the same old problems. Who is this man, the American farmer, on whose labor all of us depend? Well, whoever he is, he's different now than the farmer used to be. He may be the holder of a master's degree in ruminant nutrition, working for his father on salary this first year out of college. He may be a very successful insurance man, turned equally successful corn, hog, and cattle man, reversing the national trend of town and country migration. He may be a graduate civil engineer, formerly an all-star on his college team, formerly a football coach, but eventually heeding the example of his father, a master farmer, and returning to farm in partnership with his brothers. You will find him, president of the board of his cooperative, discussing ocean freight rates on a phone in the middle of a rice farm. You will find him hosting a meeting of the governor's agricultural study committee, of which he is a most honored and respected member.
We must do something about this. We must have a market that we can depend on, otherwise we are in a bad situation.
You will find him in his office, reading the Wall Street Journal, connected by Watt's line with the current market situation, or with his cattle buyers 1,000 miles away.
Glad to hear from you. I was wondering about the Chicago market compared with the Iowa market today.
And all too often, you'll find him mired to his boot tops in toil, sweat, and trouble. A farmer needs as many eyes as a potato to keep an eye on all of his problems.
I wonder if this shot will stop this foot rot. I wish I knew whether the corn had been watered enough. Last year I shut off the irrigation pumps too soon, and I don't want another yield like that.
Whatever the enterprise, wherever they farm, the men engaged in agriculture today must struggle with two common and complex problems: the costs they must pay, the prices they must settle for. It takes all the management skills he learned at the university, all the knowledge he once put to use as a VOAG teacher, all the experience he has gleaned in 13 years as an operator of his own farms for Eldon Wesley to move ahead in that twilight zone called parity, the gloom-shrouded figure used to show the relationship between prices on things farmers must buy and on what they sell. But move ahead he has. sometimes at a pace which seems maddeningly slow for one of his energetic temperament. It took nearly a year of consultation with the State Health Department, University Extension, conservation specialists, and of course with his credit sources, for Wesley to implement the plans for his new feedlot. It's a feedlot to win acclaim from ecologists, designed to protect the Logan River down the slope from Wesley's land. And the anti-pollution engineering of his lot was not so much to satisfy governmental regulations as to satisfy Wesley himself. A farmer's life is the land, and water the wellspring of his life. The original conservationist must have been a man like Eldon Wesley.
Now we can stand 200 acres on the first planting within 2 or 3 week period. This will give us an idea then what we should do with some of this area in here.
What the successful farmer may not have been by nature originally, he is now by necessity, a desk man, dealing with all the charts, projections, and capitalization requirements of any other business executive. His record keeping must show him to the dollar how each of his enterprises, cotton, soybeans, herds, compare, so that he can concentrate his efforts where the greatest possibility for profit lies.
Thanks, sir.
He must make an art of marketing, independently or through his association or cooperative, sometimes in both ways, in order to realize that extra few cents per bushel, per hundredweight, or per ton that will make the difference between existence and disaster.
7/7s are down.
Boy, oh boy. That must be good stuff, George. Watch it now. Don't drink too much of it.
Caught between the rock of rising costs and the hard place of low farm prices, the farmer still keeps his sense of humor, or he does if he's Barney Migliore.
Walnut cake.
Of course.
Thank you, Judy.
Blow out your candle, quick.
Oh, all right.
You have to make one little wish.
Let me see.
That's too big.
No, it's good enough.
You're windier than I thought you were, Daddy.
Is that right?
Wax all over the cake.
Oh.
Boy, look at that mess on your beard, Barney. Carol, it's been a year and a half since the centennial, and he hasn't even trimmed it or cut it. When are you gonna cut it, Barney?
Well, tomorrow, George. I think I'll take you down to the barber shop and you get a butch haircut, and I'll shave this off. How about it?
Barney's always been the handsomest man around, with or without a beard. Handsome is as handsome does, and Barney's done handsome by us. Who would think to see him now that at 14, with just a 9th grade education, he hired on as a ranch hand. His uncle worked for his uncle, and Barney took care of whatever had to be done, lighting smudge pots at that time, you know, row by row by row, hundreds and hundreds. They're out. Smudge pots are out, and they're dirty. They're time-consuming, and they're expensive, very expensive. And so now we have gone to another expensive method initially, our underground sprinklers, our permanent underground sprinklers, which afford us a way to irrigate by turning a switch and to protect us against the frost instantaneously. Barney is ranching almonds, grapes, and walnuts. This is the type of ranching we do in this area. What did he have to learn? Everything, and is still learning, because times and things change. And this is why Barney, I think, is successful, because he keeps up with the changes. 20 years ago, they went in with the discs into the grapes, into the walnuts and the almonds, and turned this ground upside down, making it more susceptible to the lower temperatures. Today, we do turf ranching or farming. A red spider is an insect that could wipe out an almond orchard, and is controlled by keeping down the dust, which our turf ranching does, which I think that Barney has proven that turf ranching is the way to go. Barney works night and day, and then in between, 8 days a week, all the time, even when he is relaxing or appears to be relaxing, the gears are grinding. If it's during the harvest season, he spends maybe until 1 or 2 in the morning out with the machinery. He works on his machinery all year around. And he really has no spare time. He has to be a dynamo. Our help during the year is our boys going to school, students. Then during the special times of the year, like pruning, we hire extra experienced help. Not just anybody can go in and start cutting.
I like to work with trees, shaping. It's one thing I really enjoy. And it's the same way with being. It's just something that you know that you're not doing anything except helping nature, because nature's doing all the work, but you just go and you trim them the way you like to see a vine or a tree. And I've always felt that that's very rewarding.
We have problems. The weather, too much water, not enough water at the right time, too much water at the wrong time. We have all of this working against us. One problem after another. This time of the year, when the almonds are blossoming, you just can't lie there and Barney has to get out there and turn on the sprinklers or whatever it takes to protect those blossoms.
I enjoy it very much. It's a challenge every day. We have something new popping up that we have to take care of and not master, but at least try to understand. We've had some good crops. We've had good luck in our controls, and it's just been good luck, that's all.
Good luck, my eye.
Like Barney Migliore, many of the men who operate family farms find labor, except for their own, scarce and hard to interest in the kinds of chores that have to be done. Fewer and fewer are even able to interest their sons in sharing the load, in remaining on the homestead to carry on the family tradition, as this son has. It's a fortunate family farmer who can rely on even one full-time farm worker, one man who will stay with him so that he knows the operation and can take hold.
You take the other man and work on that fence that we talked about.
Leaving the farmer himself with occasional free time. Time to play a hand or two of bridge, perhaps. Or, more likely, get away for a Grange, Farm Bureau, NFO, Farmers Union, or Growers meeting.
He did.
Now, if you're Ed Rast, you're lucky. You just happen to have the 4 hands it takes to handle everything, because you farm in partnership with the duplicate, your twin, Jim Rast. You can let Jim pilot the farm helicopter to take care of the bugs in the crops. Meanwhile, you can worry over the computer printout sheets, keeping track of all your joint enterprises. Let Jim go to town to arrange to borrow the money you two are going to have this year, while you handle the necessary chore of running soil tests on your fields. It's always been a complementary relationship, this combination of the two of you. Jim got his degree in animal husbandry. You got yours in agronomy. And what one doesn't know, the other will. Of course, even though you know he knows, you may want to call him on it.
Hey, don't you think with this rain we ought to set out these bell peppers? Bell peppers? What in the world you want to go into bell peppers for? Well, I got 3 boys in the house tearing it up, and I got to get something for them to do this summer. Well, now, $23,000 is a lot of bell peppers. If you think you can pay for your half of this combine with bell peppers, then that's your idea. Well, you wanted the biggest combine east of the Mississippi River, and we had to go out on a limb to get it. Well, you know the fruit of a tree grows on the limbs. Well, let's go out on a little limb and plant a few bell peppers and at least give these boys something to do out of the house this summer. It's hard to stand on 2 limbs, but I'll try a little bit of bell peppers with you. All right, well, let's go ahead and Getting ready to set them out.
Farmers, even farmers as much in accord as the rests, find it difficult to agree on the solutions for farm problems. For the one thing today's farmer has in common with farmers of an earlier era is rugged individualism. One farm operator will tell you,
the only way that we are going to ever get paid adequately for our work and our investment is to gain control of the markets. We've got to organize.
And another will say,
Farmers will never fully organize. They'll never get together and follow somebody else's say, not even other farmers.
it's true that some have softened the rock and made the hard place a little less hard by banding together in cooperatives, which help alleviate the problem of rock-bottom prices while allowing the farmer freedom to make his own decisions. Even though that decision may sometimes be the painful and expensive one of voluntarily sacrificing a part of his hard-won yields to avoid glutting the market.
Okay, drop 'em. Drop 'em all. Sure hate to do it. You raise them and put them on the ground.
Some farm producers, like the broiler men, must bear the capital costs for building and maintaining their units and furnish all the labor. But the industry, while it provides them a market, also makes the decisions about the size of their flocks, the growing requirements, and the feed formulas.
Mr. Mathis, we have 68,000 baby chicks here, and we'll be moving those at around 8 weeks.
If there's anything that the survivors, the men with the wit and the grit to make a go of it between the rock and the hard place, if there's anything they have learned through their perseverance, it is that they must grow. Grow in the size of their economic units. Grow or die.
Machinery that's too high priced not to keep it working. On as many acres you can spread it out on.
What Daddy had back in the 40s and 50s might have seemed like a lot, but we get less for what we produce now than we did then, 30 years ago. We just got to keep expanding.
A few more olive trees, better bearing trees, and I could breathe a whole lot easier.
Anyone can have a bad year on the farm, and I've had my share of them. But what holds me together is that we are diversified on this farm, and if we happen to lose on a couple of crops, we always have cattle to fall back on. Sometimes I just like to go in the pasture, park under a pine tree, and watch the cattle graze. This gives me a great deal of pleasure.
He'll get $200 bill. He'll get $225 now, $50 now, $75 now. He didn't order the $300 bill. $25 now, $50 now, $55, $400 bill. Now,
with me, pigs have always been my pick. I've always liked raising hogs. And always figured that when I grew up that I wanted to have and grow a good herd of Duroc hogs. And now I'm thankful to say that I have some hogs that I'm proud of and have been doing good for me. Time gets rough sometime, but I've always tried to stick with them, and I found the hogs have been good to me.
$700 bill, he'll get $700 bill, now 10, 10, now 20, 720, he'll get $20 bill, 700.
Well, there goes Princess Vivian. My wife says I always name them after my old girlfriends.
Nothing like working for yourself. Just nothing like it. You have the full responsibility of everything that goes on in your ranch. You know, any mistakes that are made, they have to be your own fault. You know, I've always felt that an almond tree is like a young woman as they come into bloom. They're beautiful. And all the way through, as they are coming to blossom and as they bear their fruit, they are all, I think, all beautiful.
What keeps them going? The Barney Milioris, the Ed and Jim Rasts, the Eldon Wesleys, and the other successful family farmers who bring forth from between a rock and a hard place the plenty which is the foundation of the American standard of living. Partly it's the normal drive of successful businessmen everywhere who seek to provide the best they can for their families. Partly it's the dream of handing on a heritage they know their sons may in time ignore as the lure of the city calls more and more of them away from the land. And partly it's a timeless virtue, the virtue of self-reliance, still at work in a world where it is sorely needed.
Just like you were chucking her in yesterday. You know, time to feed those cattle. I gotta go.
Come on, can't you play longer?
Nope, that's it.
When Elmer, my father-in-law, built this house in 1932, he planted that row of trees, an example of his faith in the future. Things could not have been more bleak for farmers than they were in the days of the Depression, but Elmer meant to stick it out. He meant to be here when those trees were big enough to shelter his house from the wind, and he was too. Now I'm here, and I'm taking out his feeding setup and his barn and changing everything. But you have to change with the times. I'm making this land produce like it never could have in Elmer's time, and it takes a tremendous amount of capital and management to do it. Maybe I'm gambling too big. A lot of farmers fall by the wayside as the competition gets tougher and tougher. And maybe there's some that think that I'll be one of them. But all of these cattle have to have windbreaks. And me, I'm planting trees.